I hear. And
yeah.
Yeah. I like
Welcome
it.
back, man. It's good to
Thank
see you.
too. Yeah,
Rick Doblin from MAPS. That's, for whatever reason, that acronym I always stumble with. Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I was just yesterday and today with Ralph Metzner, and I got the name from him in a way. He wrote a book, Maps of Consciousness.
Oh.
And I needed a name for the organization that had a P in it for psychedelic.
Right.
And so I was looking around for words that had a P in it. And MAPS, and I really liked what Ralph did and with Tim and around us and the rest. And so I thought MAPS, it helps, explain a territory.
Yeah. Well, you guys are so important when it comes to the dialogue of psychedelics, because from an outsider, this is how I always view MAPS. MAPS is always like, oh, those are the actual really smart dudes who are into psychedelics. Because there's so many wacky fuckers out there in the world of psychedelics. Right. And they want to bring you crystals and talk to you about channeling. And I know a healer. And there's so much going on that's so crazy. And then there was science. And then there was people doing actual peer-reviewed studies. There was actual scientists involved. There was real data. And you guys were pursuing it the right way. And I was like, ooh, these guys are so important. Because there's not a lot of people that... That's one of the weird things about psychedelics. You could tell people that you went out and drank whiskey until your feet went numb and you shit your pants and no one cares. But if you tell people that you got together with some friends and you took a naturally occurring psychedelic drug and you explored your consciousness and you're so much happier now and you feel better about life and you're more optimistic, if you do that, you're some fucking wacky hippie druggie, some loser.
Well, that's the perception. And so we've got this coming out, and we've looked at other social change movements like gay marriage and gay rights, and it comes from people coming out, because there are loads of smart people that do psychedelics, or talented or emotionally wise, and they just keep it quiet. So people don't really know who in society has had these influences.
And they don't have to keep it quiet either. I mean, it's jobs think that their employees, for some reason, would be better off if they didn't do certain drugs, certain jobs. I think that's crazy. The idea that they get to control your body when you're not there is just crazy.
Yeah, but if you look at the companies like Facebook and Google and all these tech companies, they don't do drug tests.
They better not.
They don't.
They'll lose everybody.
Yeah, they know not to. So
imagine if Google did a pot test. Oh, good Lord. Oh, my God. They would lose the entire company. It would come back. It would be like real straight-laced, Republican, Trump-supporting. Yeah.
Yeah, so the innovation and psychedelics and marijuana and looking at things in different ways, people are getting to appreciate that, I think, more. The culture is changing.
Well, we're in these camps, we have these camps, the do's and the don'ts. Do you take drugs? Do you not take drugs? And, and there's a lot of people that pride themselves on one or the other, whether they're a perturber or non-perturbed. There's people that get weird about people that are doing things other than what they're doing. They don't like it.
Yeah, and that's why we need this kind of coming out.
Yeah.
And so we were having these global psychedelic dinners. This is our 30th anniversary. Actually, tomorrow is the 30th year that I started MAPS in 1986. And we're asking people to, in their own homes or with their friends, to invite people over and then have them tell stories of what psychedelics have meant to them or what their hopes are for psychedelic research.
So you're inviting everyone to do it to make a night of it?
Yeah. And
it's like a holiday?
Yes, during April, during the month of April, generally.
You're creating your own holiday.
There's people that have done this before. There's with conversations about death with dinner and drugs with dinner even.
Right.
So they try to promote conversations in safe places, but where people feel comfortable to really be more honest and they can open up. And so it's kind of modeling on that.
Right.
And then it hopefully helps people to come out even more. I mean, we even have like a Twitter, it's a hashtag psychedelics because. And so people can write in and just say, psychedelics matter to me because, or, I'm more hopeful, or I'm, feeling that multi-generational trauma can be addressed through
Isn't that
deep
incredible
work.
that is one of the best things for it is MDMA? One of the best things as far as getting over traumatic experiences is an illegal drug.
Yeah, and yet there's a carved out area that we've been able to make legal, which is the research area. And it's because science is the vehicle in our culture that we trust, more our religion than our religions. And so it felt like science and healing were the ways into the culture that was freaked out by psychedelics in the 60s. And now, because of these crises we're in, and also these tools that can be shown to be really helpful, and that people have made lives out of them, that it's not hurt them, it's helped them. But people don't know it. So that's where we think the research is helping people create a space where they can talk about it.
Well, I think people are starting to understand the true nature of these things instead of the propaganda. And they're doing it from people like yourself being really honest about their experiences, and people like yourself, even more importantly, because there's not a lot of people like you that have actually gone out and pursued all of the significant scientific data on psychedelics and the beneficial properties to it, so that we can understand, like, we have this idea about a thing. Forget it. Put all your ideologies aside, whether you're right wing or left wing. We have an idea about a thing that's not correct. And this idea about a thing is that there's a certain group of consciousness adjusting substances that are for losers. They're for dumb people. They're for fools. And don't you mess with those. And everybody who does those is lazy and stinky. And you lock. They're like people. There's a lot of people that automatically lock into that pattern of thinking. That's their go-to for any drugs, anything that's not legal. But yet those same people oftentimes will drink. They have no problem doing that, and a lot of times they'll take pills too, which is even more bananas.
Yeah, well, there was this idea that drugs or marijuana hurts your IQ.
Says who?
I mean, there's been
says who? To prove it. Is that true?
Well, there was a study. The National Institutes of Health just 2 weeks ago had a conference in Washington at the NIH headquarters. The head of NIH was there, the head of NIDA, the head of NIMH, National Institute of Mental Health, about marijuana and cannabinoids. And it was a neuroscience review. And they presented results that suggested that there was heavy marijuana smokers that started early in their lives over... this was done in New Zealand over like a 20-year period, had some differences, lower IQs than their control groups.
Well, if you're talking about people that are smoking marijuana heavily, one of the things that I would say is that if you're smoking marijuana heavily, you're not going to do a whole lot of thinking. You're going to zone the fuck out. You're going to do a lot of zoning out. And while sober people might be absorbing more information, you're probably off in a world of your own all day long. That's not necessarily healthy. I think all psychedelic drugs should be an enhancer, but they shouldn't be in replace of. Like, you shouldn't say, you know, I'm just going to be high from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep every single day, and this is how I exist. I'm just high all the time. High, high, high. Like, take a break, man.
Yeah, I had that sense of, as in my early 20s, of smoking all the time to be high, high, high. And I enjoyed it, and I felt it got me into things. It got me really into physical work and labor.
Really?
Yeah, it's fun and exercise, fantastic. I mean, that's the opposite of the couch potato idea, you know, that people have. But pot and exercise just meant I ran the New York Marathon while I was stoned.
That's amazing.
I got tired in the middle, and I walked into porta potty and smoked up some more.
You got tired, you smoked some more weed and jumped back in?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, my God, that's a great story. Isn't that hilarious? A lot of jiu-jitsu people smoke pot before jiu-jitsu. It's a big one.
Snowboarders.
Yeah, snowboarders love it. Yeah, snowboarders love it. They say basketball players.
Yeah.
They say that it's one of the things about the NBA. It's like, you better not be testing for weed because these dudes love it.
Yeah.
When it would make sense, too, because I don't play basketball, but I play pool. And it's one similarity they share is that it's about touch and feel. And that touch and feel is way enhanced. Like, a lot of the best pool players also smoke pot. You know, this guy, I don't know if I'm blowing up his spot. Probably not. I probably shouldn't blow up his spot. There's a video of me doing an impression of him, and he's like a genius. Like, fuck it, I'll say it. His name's Earl Strickland. He's a genius pool player, and he might have occasionally enjoyed marijuana. That's all I'm saying. But these guys, like, they say that when they're smoking pot and playing, you can, like, see things better. You have a better sense of where the ball's going. You have more sensitivity as far as how far it rolls.
Yeah, I used to play racquetball a lot and handball and a lot, and sometimes I would play stoned. And sometimes when I was, you did have that deeper sense of being in the moment. You were just one step instant more into the moment and predicting and knowing and just but I could never there was an unpredictability about it. You know, so I could never really tell if I would play better or worse. There was just
well, that's probably why you played good, because you were never sure and you stayed on the edge. You know, I think there's an ego dissolving quality of any of these psychoactive substances, and I think that ego dissolving quality gives you more space to move around with all your other focuses. That's my theory about it, because I always felt like with jiu-jitsu, you definitely feel better at jiu-jitsu when you're high, and I was trying to figure out why. Well, you also feel like you somehow or another you feel more vulnerable, yet you do better. Like you're more kind of freaked out by any aggression, or more trying to avoid any sort of conflict.
That's what the driving studies of marijuana in drivers show. That people know that they're slightly impaired, and they take defensive measures. They drive slower, and
you're just more aware of the possibilities of an error as well.
Yeah, and you're correcting for it, and you drive more carefully. I think that's the part that we have to really be the experts on the risks as well as the benefits.
Yeah, definitely.
And that we can't ignore that there are both sides of it.
For sure, with edibles.
Yeah.
You know, like edibles and driving, settle down. Just please settle down. Are you sure? You sure that's a good idea?
Yeah. Although I think the idea we need to do is more move to performance tests rather than drug tests, and then that's really directly what you're concerned about, and then you leave people's behaviors to themselves, but you check their real performance, not these indicators or predictors.
Yeah, from my personal experience, there's a big difference between how you understand and operate under it as like someone who's been smoking pot for like 15 years versus someone who's been smoking pot for like a week or a month or even a year. Like there's a difference in sometimes your ability to handle being really high. Like your anxiety takes hold of you because you're like, oh my God, and you start freaking out. And then you can't drive, you can't do anything. And then there's people that are just, oh geez, like that Action Bronson character. Action Bronson came in here. This motherfucker smoked like 9 joints in the entire time he was here. He just kept smoking. I had to tap out. I had to sit back and watch. And he just never slowed down. He kept going in. He kept lighting that fucker up. I'm like, this guy's insane. But like a dude like that guy can handle being high. He understands how to be high. But for someone who's not really that experienced at it, man, especially in a car, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. You have to be, again, if you can just focus on performance, and it takes a while to get used to it.
But I think my point was the performance varies considerably dependent upon the individual. So I don't think you could even do like an across-the-board performance test, like say, oh, we've shown that this guy under 5 joints can do BMX flips. Because a lot of those BMX dudes, they could do that shit drunk too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, it has to be an individual examination. Yeah, the part that I really liked about exercising and playing racquetball with marijuana is that sometimes it would be so easy to forget the score. And then you realize you're not really playing for the score. It doesn't really matter. And you're just so into the moment and playing as hard as you can.
Yeah, just enjoying the movements.
And there is this competition, but it's like about helping each other do your best.
Yeah.
And then the score, that's the one downside of you're high and playing racquetball, trying to keep track of the score.
Yeah, you need like someone there who's sober. You need to hire someone. Hire a dude with a clicker.
But
we can't be bothered, man. Well, you just give each other participation trophies like they're doing with kids today, where everybody gets a trophy. So don't worry about the score. Just play. Just keep playing. Who won? I don't know.
I think this idea, though, of science and the being rigorous about things.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something that you did about aliens, and I thought you did like a